Fingerprints in light, spectral lines that decode molecular identities with absolute precision. For every comet astronomers have studied, these signatures have told consistent stories. Water dominates. Carbon dioxide appears as a minor component. Dust and organics fill supporting roles. The chemical script is familiar. Then 3IATLAS arrived with a different script entirely. Spectroscopic data captured during its perihelion passage is revealing something unexpected. Early analysis of emission lines suggests this interstellar visitor may carry elevated carbon dioxide relative to water. Not slightly elevated, potentially dramatically so. Ratios that would place it outside the range of typical solar system comets. This isn't confirmed yet. The data is still being analyzed. Peer review hasn't validated the findings, but preliminary observations from multiple telescopes point toward the same conclusion. 3. IATLAS chemistry differs fundamentally from objects that formed around our Sunday. The evidence comes from multiple sources. Strong carbon-bearing molecular emissions detected throughout perihelion passage. The transient blue coloration that appeared specifically during closest solar approach. Activity patterns that suggest volatiles sublimating at distances where water ice should remain largely frozen. Each piece of evidence individually could have alternative explanations, but together they paint a coherent picture. A comet dominated not by water, but by carbon dioxide and potentially other hypervolatile ices. A composition shaped by formation in a stellar environment, colder, more carbon-rich, or chemically different from our protoplanetary disk. If this preliminary analysis holds up under scrutiny, if peer-reviewed publications confirm what early data suggests. 3. IATLAS will represent the first detailed chemical characterization of an interstellar comet showing exotic ice composition. Not just different, fundamentally different in ways that reveal how diverse comet formation can be across the galaxy. Understanding what makes this discovery significant requires understanding how spectroscopy reveals chemical composition. When molecules in a cometary coma are energized by solar ultraviolet radiation, they emit light at specific wavelengths determined by their quantum mechanical structure. Each molecule has a unique emission signature. Water molecules, when broken apart by solar radiation, produce hydroxyl radicals that emit strongly at specific ultraviolet and visible wavelengths. Carbon dioxide molecules emit at different wavelengths, carbon monoxide at still different wavelengths. By measuring which emission lines appear and how strong they are, astronomers determine what molecules are present and in what relative abundances. For 3IATLAS, spectroscopic observations during perihelion showed strong emissions in wavelength regions associated with carbon-bearing species. The exact molecular identification requires detailed analysis comparing observed line positions and strengths to laboratory measurements and theoretical models. This work is currently underway at multiple institutions, but preliminary assessment suggests carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide are present at levels higher than typically observed in solar system comets. In typical comets, water vapor dominates by factors of 5 to 10 or more over carbon dioxide. Early indications from 3IATLAS suggest this ratio might be inverted or at least much closer to 1:1. Additionally, the blue coloration observed transiently during perihelion provides supporting evidence. Blue emission in cometary comae comes primarily from ionized carbon monoxide. When solar radiation strips electrons from carbon monoxide molecules, the resulting ions emit strongly in blue wavelengths. The intensity of blue coloration correlates with carbon monoxide abundance and ionization rate. The fact that 3IATLAS showed pronounced blue color specifically during perihelion when solar radiation intensity peaked suggests significant carbon monoxide was being released and ionized. As the comet receded and solar radiation intensity decreased, the blue faded. This temporal correlation between solar distance and blue intensity matches predictions for carbon monoxide-dominated outgassing. Subscribe now. because if this chemical composition is confirmed, it will reveal how different stellar environments produce comets with fundamentally different ice mixtures. If 3IATLAS is indeed carbon dioxide rich rather than water rich, it has profound implications for understanding where and how it formed. The ice composition of comets reflects conditions in the protoplanetary disk regions where they originated. Water, ice, and carbon dioxide ice condense at different temperatures. In a protoplanetary disk, temperature decreases with distance from the star. Close to the star, temperatures are too high for any ices to remain solid. Farther out, temperatures drop enough for water ice to condense. Still farther, carbon dioxide ice becomes stable. Even farther, more volatile ices like carbon monoxide and methane condense. In our solar system's protoplanetary disk, comets formed primarily in regions where water ice was abundant, but carbon dioxide was less so. This produced the water-dominated ice composition we observe in solar system comets. Some carbon dioxide is present, incorporated during formation, but water comprises the bulk of volatile content. If 3IATLAS formed around a different star, the temperature structure of that star's disk could have been different. A lower mass star produces less luminosity. Its disk would be colder at equivalent distances. The snow line, where water ice becomes stable, would be closer to the star. The region where carbon dioxide dominates would extend over larger volumes. A comet forming in such an environment would naturally incorporate more carbon dioxide relative to water. If 3IATLAS' parent star was a red dwarf, producing perhaps 20 to 40% of our Sun's luminosity, its protoplanetary disk would have been substantially colder. Comets forming there could easily be carbon dioxide dominated. Alternatively, the parent star might have had unusual chemical abundances. Stars form from molecular clouds with different elemental compositions depending on their formation, history, and location in the galaxy. A cloud with higher carbon to oxygen ratio than the solar nebula would produce a disk with different ice chemistry. Carbon-rich environments favor carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide over water. Either scenario, colder disk or different chemical abundances, would produce comets with compositions unlike solar system objects. 3IATLAS may be our first direct observational confirmation of such exotic ice chemistry. The suspected carbon dioxide dominance also explains several behavioral anomalies observed in 3IATLAS. Carbon dioxide sublimates at significantly lower temperatures than water ice. At the low pressures of space, carbon dioxide transitions from solid to gas at temperatures around 145 Kelvin, roughly negative 128 Celsius. Water ice requires temperatures above about 190 Kelvin to sublimate significantly. This temperature difference means carbon dioxide-rich comets show activity at greater solar distances than water-rich comets. They begin outgassing farther from the sun and maintain higher activity levels at distances where water-dominated comets would be relatively quiescent. 3IATLAS showed activity earlier and at greater distances than initially predicted based on assumptions of water-dominated composition. If models had incorporated carbon dioxide dominance, those predictions would have matched observations better. The early activity isn't anomalous, it's exactly what carbon dioxide-rich composition predicts. The explosive brightness increase during perihelion also aligns with carbon dioxide chemistry. As the comet approached closest solar approach, temperatures throughout its nucleus rose. Subsurface carbon dioxide deposits that had remained frozen suddenly reached sublimation temperature. The resulting rapid gas release could explain the observed brightness surge without requiring fragmentation or other dramatic structural changes. Even the tail geometry anomalies might relate to composition. Carbon dioxide sublimates more readily, producing higher gas-to-dust ratios than water sublimation. This changes how material is accelerated away from the nucleus and how it interacts with solar radiation and solar wind. potentially creating tail structures different from water-dominated comets. None of this constitutes proof that 3IATLAS is carbon dioxide dominated, but it demonstrates that this single compositional difference could explain multiple observed behaviors simultaneously. Occam's razor favors explanations that account for many observations with few assumptions. Comment below. If you could study any aspect of 3IATLAS chemistry in detail, what would you most want to know? It's crucial to emphasize where the science currently stands. The carbon dioxide-rich composition is not yet confirmed fact. It's a working hypothesis based on preliminary analysis of spectroscopic data. The path from preliminary observation to confirmed scientific result involves several stages that haven't been completed yet. First, raw spectroscopic data must be processed. This involves calibrating instruments, removing instrumental artifacts, correcting for atmospheric absorption if observations came from ground-based telescopes, and converting measured signals into physical quantities like photon counts at specific wavelengths. Second, emission lines must be identified. Observed spectral features are compared to databases of known molecular transitions. This isn't always straightforward. Lines from different molecules can overlap. Weak lines can be obscured by noise. Temperature and density conditions in the coma affect which transitions are visible. Third, relative abundances must be calculated. Once molecules are identified, determining how much of each is present requires modeling how efficiently different molecules emit under cometary conditions. This involves quantum mechanics, radiative transfer, and statistical physics. Fourth, uncertainties must be quantified. Every measurement has error bars. Every model has assumptions. Properly characterizing how confident we can be in derived abundances requires careful statistical analysis. Fifth, peer review must validate the work. Other scientists will scrutinize methods, check calculations, and evaluate whether conclusions are justified by data. This process can reveal problems that require revision or alternative interpretations that better explain observations. Only after these stages are complete will the carbon dioxide-rich composition move from preliminary indication to confirmed measurement. That process takes months. The observations were captured during perihelion just weeks ago. Full analysis hasn't had time to complete. What we can say now is that multiple independent research groups examining 3IATLAS spectra are reaching similar preliminary conclusions. Carbon-bearing molecules appear unusually prominent. The ratios don't obviously match typical solar system comets. Further analysis is needed, but the early consensus points toward exotic composition. If carbon dioxide dominance is confirmed, 3IATLAS will join a growing catalog of interstellar objects with properties distinct from solar system populations, but it will occupy unique parameter space even among interstellar visitors. 1I Oumuamua showed no detectable cometary activity, no coma, no tail, no spectroscopic evidence of sublimating ices. Whatever its composition, volatiles either weren't present or weren't sublimating under the conditions it experienced during solar system passage. 2I Borisov showed typical cometary activity with composition matching solar system comets. Spectroscopic measurements revealed water vapor, carbon dioxide, and other molecules in ratios consistent with local objects. Borisov demonstrated that at least some interstellar comets form through processes similar to solar system comet formation. 3IATLAS, if preliminary indications hold, shows active cometary behavior but with inverted composition. Carbon dioxide dominating over water represents the opposite of both Oumuamua's inactivity and Borisov's conventional chemistry. It demonstrates a third category, active comets with exotic ice mixtures. 3 objects, 3 distinct profiles. The pattern suggests tremendous diversity among interstellar visitors. As more are discovered and characterized, we'll likely find objects spanning all possible combinations of activity levels and compositions that stellar environments can produce. 3IATLAS is still observable, though fading as it recedes from the Sunday. Continued spectroscopic observations over coming weeks and months will track how emission lines evolve as solar distance increases and temperatures drop. If carbon dioxide dominates, specific predictions follow. Carbon dioxide emission should remain detectable to greater solar distances than in water-rich comets. The ratio of carbon dioxide to water emission should increase as the comet cools, because carbon dioxide continues sublimating at temperatures where water becomes dormant. Water emission should fade faster than carbon dioxide emission. If observations confirm this pattern, it would provide strong evidence for carbon dioxide-rich composition even before detailed abundance calculations are published. Additionally, other volatile species might be detected as analysis progresses. Methane, ammonia, nitrogen compounds each provides additional constraints on formation conditions. The full chemical inventory will paint a comprehensive picture of the environment where 3IATLAS originated. Long-term monitoring might also detect activity changes that reveal internal structure. If the nucleus is layered with different compositions at different depths, activity patterns will shift as surface material erodes and deeper layers become exposed. Tracking these changes teaches us about three-dimensional chemical structure, not just bulk composition. Confirming that 3IATLAS is carbon dioxide dominated would validate theoretical predictions that interstellar comets display compositional diversity reflecting diverse stellar environments. But it would also open new questions. How common are carbon dioxide-rich comets in the galaxy? Is 3IATLAS representative of a large population or an unusual outlier? Do most comets forming around red dwarf stars have similar composition? Or do other factors like disk chemistry or formation timing matter more than stellar properties? Can we use compositional measurements to infer properties of 3IATLAS parent star? If carbon dioxide dominance indicates formation around a cool star, can we estimate that star's mass or luminosity? Can we determine whether it was young or old when 3IATLAS formed? Do carbon dioxide-rich comets survive interstellar travel differently than water-rich comets? Carbon dioxide sublimates at lower temperatures. During millions of years in the cold of deep space, does carbon dioxide leak away slowly while water remains frozen? Does this alter composition during travel, or do comets remain chemically frozen until encountering stars? Each answered question generates new ones. That's how science advances. Not by reaching final conclusions, but by progressively refining understanding through cycles of observation, interpretation, and new questions. As I record this, 3IATLAS continues outbound from perihelion. The spectroscopic data captured during its closest solar approach is being analyzed by research teams worldwide. Preliminary indications suggest carbon dioxide and unusual ices dominate its composition in ratios fundamentally different from solar system comets. This isn't confirmed yet. Peer review hasn't validated the findings. Detailed abundance calculations are still being completed. But multiple independent groups examining the data are reaching similar preliminary conclusions. The chemistry appears exotic, different, shaped by formation around another star under conditions unlike those that produced our local comets. If confirmation comes, if publications in coming months verify what early analysis suggests, 3IATLAS will represent a milestone, the first detailed chemical characterization of an interstellar comet with composition clearly distinct from solar system objects. Proof that our local comet population doesn't represent universal norms. Evidence that stellar diversity produces cometary diversity. Scientists are approaching this carefully, not claiming certainty prematurely, acknowledging what's preliminary versus confirmed, recognizing that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence and that evidence is still being gathered. But the trajectory is clear. 3IATLAS is revealing hidden chemistry, carbon dioxide, and unusual ices that tell stories about formation in alien stellar environments. And those stories are teaching us that the comets filling our galaxy are far more diverse, far more chemically varied, far more surprising than our experience with one stellar system could have prepared us to expect. The interstellar visitor with hidden chemistry is giving up its secrets slowly. Analysis continues, data accumulates, and somewhere in the spectral lines captured during perihelion, the full truth about this ancient traveler's composition is waiting to be decoded. Comment below. Do you think most interstellar comets are water-rich, like solar system comets, or carbon dioxide-rich, like 3IATLAS might be? And subscribe, because as spectroscopic analysis progresses and peer-reviewed results emerge, we'll bring you updates on what scientists learn about this comet's exotic chemistry and what it reveals about planetary system formation throughout our galaxy.